Have you ever been ignored by someone you care about? You send a text, eagerly awaiting a reply, but instead you get silent. You check your phone, see they're active online, posting updates, and yet there's nothing for you. That sinking feeling in your chest, it's frustrating, isn't it? You start to question yourself. Did I say something wrong? Was I too much? But let me tell you this, his silence isn't about you. It's not a measure of your worth or a reflection of who you are. It's about him. The truth is, in today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, being ignored can feel deeply personal. But here's the secret to rising above it. You don't chase. You don't react emotionally. Instead, you take control. Imagine this. You're the calm, confident woman who doesn't flinch when a man pulls away. You exude grace, strength, and independence. In this video, I'll show you how to master your emotions and handle his silence with power and poise. Not by playing games, but by becoming the most unshakable, self-controlled version of yourself. We'll explore how Stoic principles can help you stop overanalyzing, redirect rejection into growth, and build resilience beyond relationships. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll not only feel stronger, but you'll also know exactly how to take back control. I'd love to hear your story in the comments if you've ever been in a situation like this. Let's navigate this together. 1. Stop overanalyzing. It's not always about you. When a man ignores you, it feels like the world has tilted. You start replaying every word, every moment, every interaction. You wonder if it was something I said, something I did. The silence becomes deafening, filling your mind with self-doubt. It's easy to spiral, questioning your worth or your place in his life. But let me tell you something important. His silence isn't necessarily about you. Men, like all of us, carry their burdens. Sometimes they retreat because they're overwhelmed by work, family, or their insecurities. Other times, they may be testing the waters, curious about how much you care, or gauging your reaction to their absence. And yes, there are moments when the truth is simpler and harder to swallow. He's just not that into you. No matter the reason, none of these justify letting his silence dictate your emotions or your sense of self-worth. The real issue isn't why he's ignoring you. The issue is how much power you're willing to give his silence. The Stoic way to approach this is to protect your inner peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His silence is an event outside of your control, but your reaction to it, that belongs entirely to you. Let me share an example. Imagine a storm rolling across the horizon. Dark clouds, heavy winds, and relentless rain. The storm is chaotic, unpredictable, and completely beyond your control. But how you prepare for it, how you shelter yourself from its impact, that's entirely up to you. His silence is the storm, and your inner peace is the shelter. When you let the storm pass without stepping into its chaos, you remain grounded and unshaken. Too often, our minds make us the center of every situation, interpreting another person's actions as personal attacks or reflections of our values. But the truth is, people act out of their complexities, not because of us. His silence may have nothing to do with you. He might be lost in his world, facing challenges you cannot see. Or maybe his priorities simply lie elsewhere. Whatever the case, your peace does not belong to him. The Stoic approach to this moment is to practice objectivity. Instead of asking, "Why is he ignoring me?" ask yourself, "What can I control in this situation?" Shift the focus inward. If you find yourself dwelling, try journaling to separate fact from fiction. Write down exactly what happened, just the facts, and then write what you're telling yourself about the situation. You'll often find that your thoughts are adding unnecessary weight to the reality. If the facts are unclear, practice reframing. Instead of assuming his silence is rejection, consider other possibilities. Maybe he's dealing with something personal. Maybe he's unsure how to communicate his feelings. Or maybe, and this is crucial, it has nothing to do with you at all. By shifting your perspective, you take back the power that your thoughts are trying to steal. Here's how to apply this. The next time you feel ignored, pause. Don't reach for your phone. Don't draft that text asking why. Instead, step away from the noise. Take a walk, focus on your breathing, or immerse yourself in a task that matters to you. Each time you redirect your energy to something productive, you reinforce the strength of your inner peace. Let me give you another scenario to consider. Imagine you're sitting in a waiting room. There's a delay, and no one is updating you. You could sit there tapping your foot, growing more and more frustrated with the lack of information. Or you could pull out a book, write down your thoughts, or take a moment to breathe and reflect. The time doesn't change, but your experience of it does. The same applies to his silence. You can stew in frustration, or you can shift your focus to something enriching. The key takeaway here isn't to ignore how you feel. It's okay to be hurt or disappointed. What matters is what you do with those feelings. Instead of letting them spiral into self-doubt, use them as a moment to practice self-awareness. Ask yourself, what does this say about me? About what I value? And then, use the answer to grow. By understanding that his silence is not a measure of your value, you step into a place of power. You realize that no one's actions have the right to disrupt your inner world unless you let them. And when you live in this state of emotional independence, you radiate a strength that no silence can overshadow. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever found yourself overanalyzing someone's silence? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. Let's grow through this together. 2. Master your reaction. Why doing nothing is a power move. When a man ignores you, the first reaction is often emotional. The uncertainty of silence can feel unbearable, and your mind starts spinning with questions. What did I do wrong? Why isn't he responding? Should I send another message? These thoughts can spiral into overthinking, pushing you to act impulsively. Yet, every action taken in emotional haste, whether it's sending a flurry of texts, demanding explanations, or seeking reassurance, only shifts power away from you. The reality is that reacting emotionally doesn't solve the problem. It amplifies it. Each message, each call, and each attempt to re-engage becomes a signal of desperation, inadvertently placing him in control of your emotional state. But here's the truth. You are not defined by his silence. Instead, you hold the power to define how you respond to it. Sometimes, the strongest move is to do nothing at all. This isn't about playing games or pretending not to care. Choosing to do nothing is a deliberate act of emotional mastery. It says, I am grounded. My peace does not depend on someone else's actions. When you step back instead of reacting, you create an opportunity, not only for him to wonder about you, but also for yourself to regain balance and clarity. Often, this quiet confidence makes a far greater impact than any words could. Stoic philosophy offers profound insights into this approach. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In this context, his silence is the event, but your response, or lack of it, is where your power lies. When you don't allow his behavior to dictate your emotions, you reclaim control over your inner world. This act of restraint is not weakness. It is strength. You're showing him and yourself that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. Let's explore this idea with a real-life scenario. Imagine a woman named Emily. She's been dating someone for a few months, and suddenly he starts pulling away. The calls become less frequent, the texts go unanswered, and Emily begins to feel his distance. Her instinct is to double down, to ask why, to seek reassurance, to bridge the gap she feels growing. But instead, Emily chooses a different path. She resists the urge to chase and instead focuses on herself. She spends her evenings exploring new hobbies, reconnecting with friends, and immersing herself in self-care. At first, the silence feels like an unbearable weight, but over time, Emily notices something surprising. She begins to feel lighter. Her days are no longer consumed by waiting for his messages. She starts to rediscover who she is outside of the relationship. And then, as often happens, he notices her absence. The calls resume, the texts come in, and suddenly, the roles are reversed. But this time, Emily has a new perspective. She realizes that her value isn't tied to his attention, and her sense of self is stronger than ever. Emily's decision to do nothing wasn't a passive act, it was a conscious choice to protect her peace and prioritize her growth. This principle can be likened to the calm surface of a lake. When you're calm, like the lake, your energy is steady and reflective, but every emotional reaction is like a stone thrown into the water, creating ripples that disrupt the stillness. The more you react, the more chaotic the water becomes, obscuring clarity. By choosing to stay still, you maintain your composure, and that composure radiates strength. So, how do you master this in practice? First, Recognize the urge to act and pause. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, it means acknowledging them without letting them control you. Take a moment to breathe deeply, grounding yourself in the present. Instead of reaching for your phone to send another message, redirect your energy towards something that nurtures you. Go for a run, read a book, or work on a project you've been putting off. These actions not only distract your mind, but also reinforce your independence. Second, reframe the situation. His silence might feel personal, but it often isn't. People pull away for countless reasons: work stress, personal struggles, or even their own emotional confusion. None of these reasons diminish your worth. In fact, by not reacting, you demonstrate emotional independence, a trait that naturally commands respect. Finally, understand that doing nothing doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It's about channeling them productively. Journaling is an excellent tool for this. Write down your thoughts, separating facts from assumptions. For example, "He hasn't responded in 3 days" is a fact. "He's lost interest in me" is an assumption. By distinguishing between the two, you can approach the situation more rationally. Imagine another scenario. You're cooking a delicate dish, and the heat needs to be just right. If the temperature gets too high, the dish burns. If it's too low, it undercooks. Emotional reactions are like cranking up the heat too quickly. They escalate the situation and lead to poor results. But when you adjust the temperature with patience and precision, the outcome is far better. Doing nothing in response to silence is like maintaining the perfect temperature. It creates balance and control. When you master this approach, something remarkable happens. Whether he reaches out again or not, you've already shifted the focus back to yourself. Your value no longer hinges on someone else's attention, and your peace becomes unshakable. If he notices your absence and decides to reconnect, it's because your calm confidence drew him back. If he doesn't, you've already taken the first steps toward a stronger, more filled version of yourself. Reflect for a moment. When was the last time you faced silence? Did you react impulsively, or did you take a step back? How did it feel, and what did you learn? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you've navigated similar situations, or how you plan to approach them differently next time. 3. From rejection to redirection. Turning silence into self-growth. Silence can be deafening, especially when it comes from someone you care about. It's easy to fall into a cycle of self-blame, feeling rejected, or even questioning your worth. But what if this very silence held an unexpected gift? What if his lack of response wasn't a door closing but a window opening? A chance to focus entirely on yourself. When a man pulls away, it's natural to feel lost in the void. The emptiness tempts you to chase answers, to fix what feels broken. But this reaction traps you in a cycle of dependency, where your happiness hinges on his attention. The moment you realize that his silence is a redirection, not a rejection, you begin to reclaim your power. This isn't about ignoring how you feel, but choosing to transform those feelings into something productive. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we cannot control what others do, but we can control how we respond. Seneca said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." In this context, his silence is the opportunity, and your preparation is the effort you invest in yourself. By shifting your focus inward, you turn what seems like rejection into a chance for growth. Picture this. A woman finds herself in a familiar situation. She's been dating a man who suddenly goes quiet. At first she panics, checking her phone every few minutes and replaying their last conversation in her mind. But instead of sending another message, she makes a decision. She'll use this time to focus on her long-neglected passions. She signs up for a photography class, something she's always wanted to do but kept putting off. As the days go by, she begins to feel lighter. She realizes that her life isn't defined by his responses, but by how much she invests in herself. This is the essence of redirection. His silence becomes a catalyst for her growth, not a roadblock. And when he eventually reaches out, as people often do, she's no longer the same person. She's stronger, more confident, and more self-assured. Whether or not she chooses to re-engage is now entirely up to her, not him. This idea applies to all of us. Think about a seed planted in the soil. At first it's buried, seemingly hidden from the world, but beneath the surface, it's growing, drawing nutrients and preparing to bloom. Silence is like that soil. It may feel isolating, but it's an environment where you can cultivate growth and strength. Instead of drowning in rejection, use it as an opportunity to invest in yourself. Start small. Focus on your physical well-being. Try a new fitness routine, or take long walks to clear your mind. Nourish your mental health by practicing mindfulness or journaling daily. Expand your intellectual horizons. Pick up a book, learn a new skill, or pursue a creative hobby. And don't forget your social circle. Spend time with people who uplift you, who remind you of your worth, and who inspire you to be your best self. When you make yourself the priority, you naturally exude confidence and independence. People are drawn to those who are self-assured, who don't need constant validation, but find fulfillment within themselves. His silence becomes insignificant in the grand scheme of the person you're becoming. Let me share a broader perspective. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. The path is steep, and the summit seems impossibly far away. As you climb, there are moments when the trail disappears and you feel lost. But instead of panicking, you take a moment to rest, to reorient yourself, and to find another way forward. Each step you take brings you closer to the peak, even if the route isn't clear. His silence is one of those moments where the path seems uncertain, but it's also a moment to pause, recalibrate, and find a new direction. The Stoic approach to handling silence is not about ignoring your emotions, but about directing them wisely. Every time you feel the urge to seek validation from him, remind yourself that you are enough as you are. Redirect that energy into something tangible, whether it's improving your health, advancing your career, or deepening your relationships. When you do this, something powerful happens. You no longer see silence as a rejection, but as a space for opportunity. Your growth becomes your focus, and his actions become background noise. And if he does return, you're no longer waiting. You're thriving. Think back to a time when someone's silence affected you deeply. How did you handle it? Did it push you to grow, or did it pull you into a cycle of doubt? Share your experience in the comments below. Let's explore how moments of quiet can lead to profound transformation. 4. Reverse psychology done right, shifting the power dynamic. When he ignores you, the natural reaction is to chase after his attention. You may feel the need to send another text, ask why he's silent, or try harder to make him notice you. But every attempt to seek his validation only deepens the imbalance in the relationship. By chasing, you give him the power to decide your emotional state. The irony is that the more you pursue his attention, the less valuable it becomes to him. What if, instead of chasing, you simply stopped? This isn't about playing games or pretending you don't care. Choosing to do nothing is about recognizing your value and shifting the focus back to your life. When you stop chasing, something powerful happens. You create curiosity. You become the person who stands out, not because of desperation, but because of your quiet confidence. Stoicism teaches us that the greatest strength lies in controlling yourself, not others. By pulling back and centering on your world, you take back control of the dynamic. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." In relationships, this means letting go of the need to control how he perceives or responds to you. Instead, focus on what you can control, how you present yourself, how you spend your time, and how you protect your emotional peace. Imagine this scenario. A woman has been dating a man who begins to pull away. At first, she feels the urge to send multiple messages asking if everything is okay. But instead, she decides to step back. She doesn't reach out, not out of spite, but to maintain her self-respect. She starts investing her energy into her passions, whether it's fitness, learning a new skill, or spending time with her friends. Days turn into weeks, and she notices something. He reaches out. His tone is curious, and his messages are more frequent. Why? Because she didn't chase. By focusing on herself, she shifted the dynamic. She became someone who didn't need his attention to feel complete, and that independence drew him back. This principle works because it's rooted in authenticity. Reverse psychology in this sense isn't about manipulation. It's about creating balance by valuing yourself. When you're not constantly available, you send a quiet but clear message. I have my own life, and I'm not defined by your attention. This kind of emotional independence is magnetic. It shows that you're not desperate for validation. and it naturally commands respect. Think of this as walking into a room filled with mirrors. When you chase his attention, it's like focusing on a single mirror, trying to get the perfect reflection from it. But when you step back and let go, the entire room becomes visible. Suddenly you realize there are countless ways to see yourself, and countless paths to fulfillment. You stop relying on one person's response for your sense of self-worth. Another perspective comes from the way we treat rare and valuable things. If you think about it, scarcity creates desire. Diamonds are valuable, not because they're needed, but because they're rare. Similarly, your attention should feel valuable, not overly accessible. When you stop chasing and focus on your growth, you make your presence feel significant. This isn't about withholding affection, but about demonstrating that you value yourself enough to not settle for imbalance. Stoic philosophy reminds us to find strength within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Applied here, this means instead of trying to prove your worth to him, live in a way that reflects it. When you invest in your personal growth and prioritize your happiness, you don't need to convince him of your value. He sees it naturally. To practice this, start small. The next time you feel the urge to chase his attention, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve? Will this action bring me peace, or will it make me more anxious? Use this moment to redirect your energy. Engage in activities that nourish you. Go for a run, write down your goals, or spend time with people who make you feel valued. By doing so, you create a life that doesn't revolve around his actions. Over time, this shift transforms not only your relationships, but also your perception of yourself. You realize that the attention you seek from him pales in comparison to the joy of living a life filled with purpose and self-respect. And when he does notice you, he's drawn not to your pursuit, but to your confidence. Imagine standing in a field, holding a balloon. If you grip it tightly and pull it close, it looks ordinary, like any other balloon. But if you let it go, allowing it to float gracefully into the sky, suddenly it catches everyone's attention. That's the power of pulling back. By stepping away, you give him the chance to notice your value, to see what he may lose if he doesn't engage. In the end, it's not about whether he responds or not. It's about knowing that your peace, your happiness, and your worth are never dependent on him. They are yours to protect, nurture, and grow. And that makes you not just attractive, but truly powerful. 5. Detach from the outcome. How to find freedom through Stoicism. Silence, rejection, or uncertainty often feel like personal failures. When someone you care about ignores you, the instinct is to grasp for answers, to cling to the idea of resolution. But the harder you hold on, the more painful the experience becomes. True freedom lies in letting go, not of care or effort, but of attachment to the outcome. Detaching from the outcome is not about giving up. It's about understanding that your value, your peace, and your happiness are not dictated by another person's actions. In moments like these, the wisdom of Stoic philosophy becomes invaluable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This may sound intense, but it's a reminder of impermanence, that nothing is guaranteed, and clinging to outcomes only chains us to a false sense of control. When you detach from the result, you liberate yourself from the emotional roller coaster of uncertainty and rejection. Imagine this. You send a message to someone, and hours turn into days without a reply. You start wondering what went wrong, replaying conversations in your head, and convincing yourself that the lack of response is a reflection of your worth. But what if, instead of obsessing over the silence, you chose to redirect your energy? What if, instead of waiting, you took a walk in nature, immersed yourself in a creative project, or wrote down your thoughts in a journal? Suddenly, the silence loses its power over you. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our perspective. You cannot force someone to reply to you or behave in a certain way, but you can control how much space their actions occupy in your mind. This is not indifference. It's empowerment. Detaching from the outcome doesn't mean you don't care. It means you prioritize your inner peace over external validation. Let's break it down with an example. Picture a gardener tending to a plant. The gardener waters it, ensures it gets sunlight, and nurtures it with care. But the gardener cannot force the plant to bloom. That is beyond their control. The gardener's role is to tend to the plant without obsessing over the timeline of its growth. Similarly, in relationships, you can show care, effort, and love, but you cannot control how or when someone responds. Your role is to give your best while accepting that the outcome is not always in your hands. Detaching from the outcome also requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What can I do right for myself now?" Instead of worrying about his response, focus on responding to your needs. Start with mindfulness. Take 10 minutes a day to sit in silence, observing your thoughts without judgment. Let the emotions come and go, like waves on the shore. This practice builds resilience and helps you stay grounded in the present. Mindfulness isn't just a practice, it's a mindset. Think of it as training your mind to remain steady in the face of storms. When you let go of the need for specific outcomes, you're no longer at the mercy of life's uncertainties. You become like a tree with deep roots, steady and unshaken, no matter how fierce the winds. To make this real, let's explore another example. A woman finds herself waiting for closure after a breakup. She replays the ending in her mind, hoping for answers that never come. Every unanswered question becomes a weight, dragging her down emotionally. One day, she decides to let go, not of the memories or the lessons, but of the need for closure. She shifts her focus to herself, enrolling in a fitness program, spending weekends with friends, and rediscovering hobbies she once loved. The result? The emotional burden lifts. She doesn't need closure from him because she's found it within herself. Detachment doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill, like any other, that requires practice and patience. Start small. The next time you catch yourself waiting for someone else's actions to bring you peace, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what can I do right now that brings me joy, fulfillment, or progress? Then do it. Each time you choose yourself over the need for external validation, you strengthen your ability to detach. The power of detachment is transformative. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have, from what you cannot control to what you can. Over time, this practice builds a deep sense of freedom and self-worth. You no longer rely on someone else's actions to define your mood, your confidence, or your value. Instead, you become the source of your peace. Think about a time when you felt consumed by the outcome of a situation. How did it affect you? What would have changed if you had focused on what you could control instead? I invite you to reflect on this and share your experiences in the comments. Let's explore how detachment can lead to strength and freedom. 6. The bigger picture, building resilience beyond relationships. When he ignores you, the immediate sting is hard to deny. It feels personal, like a rejection of your worth. But this is where the opportunity lies. Not just to handle the pain, but to transform it into strength. Emotional resilience, born from moments like these, doesn't just help you navigate this situation. It becomes a cornerstone for facing the inevitable challenges life throws at you. Mastering your emotions here isn't just about handling his silence. It's about preparing yourself to rise above difficulties in every aspect of your life. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of self-control and emotional mastery in finding true freedom. Epictetus once said, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them." When you face the discomfort of being ignored, you have a choice. Let it consume you, or use it as a stepping stone for growth. Rejection and silence can teach you how to find balance and inner peace, even in the face of uncertainty. Imagine this: a woman, feeling ignored by someone she cares for, chooses not to chase answers or validation. Instead, she shifts her energy inward. She starts by addressing the emotions she feels, acknowledging the hurt but not letting it define her. She spends her time developing herself, whether through her career, hobbies, or meaningful relationships. Over time, the act of redirecting her focus helps her build a deeper sense of self-worth. The confidence she gains doesn't just make her stronger in her relationships. It extends into her work, friendships, and personal goals. What once felt like rejection transforms into the foundation of her resilience. This approach isn't just theoretical, it's practical. The skills you develop by managing your emotions in one area of life naturally spill into others. Think of it like training a muscle. When you strengthen your ability to stay calm and composed during emotional trials, that strength becomes available in moments of professional stress, family conflict, or personal challenges. By learning to weather the storm of silence, you prepare yourself to face any turbulence life presents. Let's use a metaphor to understand this better. Picture a river flowing steadily toward its destination. Along the way, it encounters rocks, twists, and obstacles. Instead of fighting against these challenges, the river adapts, finding new pathways while maintaining its forward motion. You are the river, and the silence or rejection you face is one of those obstacles. When you learn to flow around it, you not only keep moving forward, you become stronger and more adaptable in the process. In this sense, being ignored becomes less about what he did and more about how you respond. The emotional discipline you develop from facing rejection shapes your ability to thrive in every part of your life. It teaches you how to pause before reacting, how to prioritize your inner peace, and how to let go of what you cannot control. These qualities are essential for building a fulfilling life, whether in your relationships, career, or personal growth. Stoic principles remind us that resilience begins with owning our response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His silence, as painful as it may be, is an external event beyond your control. But how you choose to interpret and react to it is entirely within your grasp. By focusing on what you can change, your mindset, your actions, your emotional well-being, you reclaim your power. Here's a practical example. A woman who struggles with being ignored decides to channel her energy into physical and mental well-being. She starts working out regularly, not just for her physical health, but to release pent-up emotions. She journals her thoughts, allowing her to process feelings without spiraling into overthinking. She joins a new social group, surrounding herself with positive energy and support. Slowly but surely, the initial sting of rejection fades, replaced by a sense of purpose and empowerment. She realizes that her life is enriched, not diminished, by redirecting her energy toward growth. This is the beauty of resilience. It compounds over time. The more you practice emotional control and focus on self-improvement, the less external events can shake you. You become a source of strength not only for yourself, but also for those around you. Others see your calm confidence and are drawn to it, inspired by your ability to handle challenges with grace. When you stop viewing his silence as rejection and start seeing it as an opportunity, everything changes. You no longer wait for someone else's attention to validate your worth. Instead, you become the architect of your happiness. And in doing so, you unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment, one that no external approval can replicate. The power of resilience isn't just about surviving difficult moments, it's about thriving because of them. Each time you face rejection or silence and choose to respond with strength, you lay another brick in the foundation of a life filled with confidence, purpose, and peace. It's not just about navigating relationships, it's about mastering yourself. And that mastery will carry you through any challenge life presents. Life often presents challenges that test our emotional strength. When a man ignores you, it's easy to let doubt and frustration take hold, but moments like these are opportunities to grow, not reasons to despair. By practicing the principles we've discussed, stopping overanalysis, mastering your reaction, redirecting rejection into self-growth, detaching from outcomes, and shifting the power dynamic, you can transform these experiences into stepping stones toward a more resilient, peaceful self. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we cannot control others, only ourselves. Epictetus taught us to focus on what lies within our control, our thoughts, actions, and emotions. Each time you choose calm over chaos, composure over desperation, and growth over stagnation, you reclaim your power. This isn't just about handling one relationship. It's about mastering your inner world so that no external event can unbalance you. Every small step you take matters. Each time you resist the urge to chase, let go of the need for validation, or focus on your personal goals, you strengthen your emotional resilience. Over time, these small practices will become habits, and those habits will shape a life filled with confidence, purpose, and peace. As you move forward, remember that growth is a journey, not a destination. Start today by applying just one of these lessons. Whether it's journaling your emotions, practicing mindfulness, or taking time to invest in yourself, every effort counts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you faced similar challenges? How have you navigated them? And what strategies have worked for you? Share your story in the comments below. It could inspire someone else on their journey toward emotional mastery. Together, let's create a space where strength, wisdom, and self-love thrive.